Steve, episode 27 of the Broadway block. A little better coming off a win, 3-1 on the Habs. How you feeling after that game? What do you think we need to work on and what are you looking forward to tonight?
So the feelings about the game are that's exactly how we want to play. It's a team that's been there in the finals, but their record is showing that clearly that maybe they didn't belong there to begin with. It is a different team. It's a different complexion not having Weber and Price on the ice for them, but that's a big win for us. And Alexei and his father Hugo are probably the most happy about that out of anybody. Um, Looking forward to seeing the line stay together. I noticed that Laugh and Mika will be on the ice again with Kreider on the off wing. So that's exciting. And then with the injury to Kako, which is apparently a week-to-week sort of situation, there's a minimum of 7 days to meet the IR requirement. So he'll be gone for at least a week. But Barclay Goodrow slides up to that right wing slot to give them a little bit of that fast mentality that Panarin's used to having, that digger in the corner. So what are you excited to see about the game?
Well, I think Mr. Laughs energies, us as a Rangers fan, like seeing your son like that with the game-winning goal where you grew up, like the arena you've always cheered in, there can't be a better feeling. Well, I guess if Laugh played for the Habs and that was like, that'd be the only better feeling for Mr. Laugh. But other than that, it was a good game. We're pretty gritty out there. Definitely think the shooting was up a little bit, but like you said, we were playing against a team that went to the Stanley Cup Finals, but not the same team. No Price, no Weber, no Corey Perry, no Deneau. They had lost a lot of people in the offseason, so definitely a different team. They're a younger team, I would say almost now. Colefield's still developing, but I liked a lot of our play. It seemed like we were getting to know each other a little bit better. I'm also a little nervous about Kako going on IR. We already have Strome on IR for COVID protocols. I know he's going to miss tonight's game, but I think that's the last one he'll miss with the 7-day protocol. So it'll be good to get him back up into the power play unit again. Here's a question. Does Kreitz score another power play goal? Mr. Right place, right time.
Now, they were all different. And the deflection, the goal in the Habs game was the beneficiary of a little luck with the defenseman kind of knocking it in. However, that's 3 deflection goals. And one of the things that Valaket had spoke about in the intermission was about how there's not the ability for the defenseman to cross-check as much, as the refs really seem to be harping on cross-checking this year. And if you ever watch somebody in front of the net, they get bashed in the back, the goalie's whacking at them, and in addition to having to dodge the rubber puck that's heading towards the face, they have to worry about taking abuse from behind. So I think this year you can already see the trend with Kreider. In the last 5 seasons, he's been in the top 5 for net front deflection type goals anyway. So this is only going to elevate that aspect of his game. And obviously we're yet to see that like dynamic streaking, speedy winger out of him. So this is just going to make it more and more likely that contract holds up and that a 30-goal season isn't really outside the window of opportunity for him. So very exciting to see from Kreider. Igor was, for me, a big part of that game. A lot of those saves were during periods of the time where it was either tied or we only had a 1-goal lead. So it was refreshing to see him make those big saves when they mattered. That glove save, I'm sure you know the one I'm talking about, was
so nice.
Already got his butt. It was a thing of beauty. So things like that you definitely need from your goalie. And there's already a little bit of a talk about who's going to be the goalie tonight. I don't think it's even a question. It's got to be Igor to build that continuity and to kind of do right by the way he was treated in the 3-headed goalie monster. I think after a performance like that, he ought to be the starter, and it should give him some confidence knowing that we believe in him. So,
well, and definitely because in theory, Toronto is a better team. They're getting Austin Matthews back, so obviously they want to come on a win and a strong point. In obviously one of the top players in the league with Austin Matthews coming back. So I would play Igor. I think we play Nashville after that. So we'll be a couple of days. Maybe you throw Georgiev there and then we take a Western road trip to Canada. I think you just kind of play the hot hand, you know? We look better with Igor out there, I think, than Grigoriev, but I don't think you don't get Grigoriev time in the next couple games, but I think you play Igor tonight.
Well, I mean, you can just tell the way he handles the puck. There was a couple plays that started in the back of the net and resulted in our own zone being able to exit. So that was huge. Again, the play of Adam Fox kind of went under the radar. Mika and Fox are both on a point per game pace, and it just doesn't really seem like it. They like quietly have gotten off to this start where you almost have to watch the game over again to remember where they had a point. But Fox's move in his own zone under pressure makes that pivot and then that clear pass out to the zone for Mika to start that rush. So some continued awesome play from Fox. And I think as far as the only like question in my eyes is if we can stay capable during this time where we're losing top six talent, I think that answers a lot of questions. In other words, if we can get the continuity going with the top lines and the fourth and third line were a little bit of not what we're used to seeing, but it does provide that opportunity for guys like Barclay and guys like Blay to kind of be moved up and down the lineup. And it's pretty obvious that they've already gained the trust of Coach Gallant in that aspect.
Yep. So I think that covers a lot of the game and a little bit of tonight's game. I just wanted to touch on today with episode 27 a little bit of the Vitaly Kravtsov situation. Apparently, all the reports said he flew back to Russia, and now with the call to McKegg and then the call up to Morgan Barron, you got to think he would have been at least called up ahead of Morgan Barron, if not ahead of Greg McKegg. And now it's a tough situation. He's looking for a trade, and Drury's come out and been like, we're not actively like ready to trade him. If he finds a good trade, they'll take it. But I was reading a report today that says they're trying to get him to come back from Russia. Do you think Vitaly comes back and puts water under the bridge, or do you think this situation holds out and gets uglier?
Well, it's tough. I don't think that the situation will just be resolved. Was scrolling through Twitter, and one of the greatest points from Mr. Statboy Steve was, this is a very similar situation that Jonathan Drouin found himself in, requesting a trade off of Tampa Bay. Looks like joke's on you, Drouin. Should have probably stuck around. And they ended up making a trade work after providing him the opportunity to prove himself in a season. He put up 52 points, found himself in a trade to the Habs. He had that beautiful goal against us, the only mark of their game. So obviously the talent's there. And he was in a situation where he needed a change of scenery, and Mikhail Sergachev was the return for the Lightning. So they end up getting a top four defenseman out of the deal and still being able to salvage one of their highest draft choices in recent memory. So for the Lightning, they were the beneficiary of somehow being able to resolve the situation, putting the guy on the ice, letting him prove himself. And if Vitaly finds himself in a similar situation, whether that be here on the Rangers or with the Wolfpack, I think this allows him to make his value rise back up so that other GMs around the league can see that he can take a step back and come back in. And if we can salvage, anything off of this trade, a top four defenseman would be more than enough, although that's obviously the position that we're most flush in. Maybe it's a situation where you get back a top four defenseman and you use that piece to try to get you what you really want or try to address the center depth position. So I think the best way this works out is a second round draft pick. And if it's any better than that, I think it's a win, because it's already seeming like he was a waste of a choice in that there are other people from that class, specifically the Islanders selections and Noah Dobson and Oliver Wahlstrom. So we'll see, man. I don't think it bodes particularly well, but I also don't think that we really would have had the money around. Should Kravtsov have proved himself to be what we thought he was when we drafted him, he would have found himself on the end of a Buchnevich type trade anyway. So it's not the worst situation for a team that's very rich in prospects, but definitely not a comfortable situation for how highly touted he was.
Yeah, couldn't agree more with you. It's just rough going to see, because we definitely really could use somebody, down there and the AHL developing. But like you said, maybe we don't even have the money to pay him later, and he's just a trade piece. So could be rich in prospects. We'll keep you in the loop on what we hear about Vitaly, and I think that wraps it up for episode 27 today. Thanks, Steve.
Awesome, Joe. Take it easy, buddy.